getting down to the goals, when I developed the show, and I had that drunken brainstorm night, I wrote down 4 goals. And it actually turned into 5 after I refined it a little bit. And the first goal, and what was actually the most important to me, was to give the artists involved agency and respect. So that is what drove the idea that each artist could choose their own cause. Because I didn't want to be involved in a situation where the artists felt like they were being pushed into this sport, and that was my choice, or my personal flag to bear, whatever you want to call it. And it also, I didn't realize it at the time, but it also opened up a whole other world of what artists are concerned about. We have 27 artists in the show, and we have 19 causes. So we have very little overlap. And the causes range from very personal to the very broad. And I talked to every artist about why they were choosing what they chose. And it was very interesting. And a lot of it is, like I said, is very personal. And I felt that I made the right decision. And then the other thing that was really important was how to pick the donation structure. The reason why I first offered artists a 75-25 split was because I wanted the artists to be able to get something out of it. I mean, they're delivering the products of a lot of hard work. And so all too often with donations, the artist don't get anything back for it. The person who actually does the best in the whole thing is the collector, the person who actually buys the work. They're not really asked for anything when it really comes down to it. It's the artist who is asked for everything. Almost all the auctions I've been involved with, they want you to donate the work, just donate it. You don't get anything for it. And I found that to be incredibly disrespectful of the artist's labor. And it takes advantage of that fact that artists want to give back. And I did not want to take advantage of everybody. And that gets to the point of why I didn't do this as an auction. I've been involved in a lot of auctions in my time. And the structure is usually you pay a lot of money to get in. This is the person coming to the auction. The work is valued at a third of what it is, and you do a silent auction. Hopefully you get 2 drunk people who's going to fight over your piece in order to get it to the value that it should have. And if you don't get those 2 drunk people, your work's going to sell for a third or a half of what it's worth. It's incredibly disrespectful to the artist. The artist has given you this work, and they in turn around gave it away. And even though I'm doing an auction next week, because the DIFA auction is coming up, I still want to give back. I still want to have part of it, want to work with this charity. But I didn't want to handle my show that way. I did not want this to have that level of disrespect, which is what I see as level of disrespect. Get back to the notes here. So that's why the work is priced at what the artist priced it at. I wanted them to be able to, and I wanted them to have the opportunity, if they needed to make money back on the materials, I wanted them to be able to do that. There's a lot of expensive framing going on. There's a lot of expensive materials going on here. They need to have an opportunity. Oddly enough, most artists chose not to do that. They basically said 100% goes to the cause, which was fine, but I needed to offer them the opportunity. The second thing that I wanted to do with this show is to foster a sense of community between the artists themselves as a group, and I have a feeling a lot of artists have met each other for the first time through this show, who are in the show, and have made some friends. Who knows how long it'll last, it'll be long term, but at least we had some community, we had something to raise our spirits, like a mini version of the march. And the other thing I wanted people to realize is that they have the ability to act. Maybe you can't buy a piece of art, but it's not going to stop you from donating to one of the causes or a cause of your own. This is like an avalanche. That's how this thing starts. A small thing starts and it continues to roll downhill. And hopefully this motivates people. If they don't participate in this particular show by buying artwork, but they participate in some other way and do something to help. The third goal that I had, and this is a bit more nebulous, was to help people maintain an inner life. I need to think about how I'm gonna say this real quick. So I'm gonna my notes here again. Art does a lot of things, and it does a lot of things well, but it also, there's some things that art can't do. And the two things that come up is that art really doesn't affect political change. It's very hard to make it do that. Art does not speak in sound bites. It's not something that you can digest quickly. And the other thing it doesn't do is it doesn't always offer solutions. The political discourse, in a working democracy is thesis, antithesis, and synthesis. Art doesn't ask for synthesis, but it often presents thesis and antithesis and asks you to come up with more than one answer. That is not a good recipe for politics because it doesn't progress anything. On the other hand, what it is a good thing for is to be in your environment and looking at the art, making you ask questions. It could be questions about anything. If you were lucky enough to have a Cézanne in your house, it makes you ask questions about how space is arranged. If you're lucky enough to have a Dali in your house, it makes you wonder about how your dream life informs your real world. I could go on and on and on. Each piece of really good art asks those kinds of questions. And what that does is that if you're continuing to engage in it and asking yourself these questions, it raises your self-awareness. And self-awareness is the beginning of empathy. As opposed to what is going on now, which is selfishness, lack of awareness, and thoughtlessness. And thoughtlessness is the origin of evil. And if I'm reading Hannah Arendt's Eichmann in Jerusalem right now because of what's going on, and that is the crux of this book, is that thoughtlessness is evil. There's nothing grand about it. There's nothing romantic about it. It's just stupidity. Darth Vader, he might be sexy, but he ain't real. Donald Trump is not Darth Vader, and neither is Steve Bannon. They're more clowns with sledgehammers and guns. And it's as funny from the distance and terrifying and close up as that analogy is. Okay. The fourth point that I've tried to get across with the show is to offer direct support to organizations that are going to be assailed by this administration, or ignored at least. Art tends toward grand gestures. Think of Christo and wrapping things up. And grand gestures are great, but it's not something that is not going to help in the short run. And by offering the work for sale and having the work go directly to a cause, and to go to those people that are actually doing things in the immediate, and who are involved in that thesis, antithesis, and synthesis dialogue. It's a way to convert the environment and long-term growth that art offers with the short-term growth. It's like a difference between planting a tree for the future and planting a garden to eat during the spring. And that's kind of how I saw it working. And we need to be efficient about this. As the people that are in power now, they have the power and they've got the money, and it's overwhelming. So that's why I want to direct action going to causes that are going to be on the forefront of that fight. As part of that whole efficiency thing, my friend Sarah, the woman that had posted that image, that kind of gave me the idea for the show in the first place, I was on a conversation with her in a teleconference, and she said, I love this idea. I just had come up with the idea. I told everybody in the group about it. She said, I'll send a piece to you. And I said to her, don't. And the reason why I said don't is because she's in Santa Fe. It would cost her quite a bit of money to send the piece. She doesn't. She's never been here. She doesn't have a collector base here. It probably wouldn't sell it, and she'd have to take the money to send it back. I said, put a show together where you're at. Give that money that you would use for shipping to a cause. So, and that gets to the next point, is that was the 4 points I came up with, and there's a fifth point that I came up with later on, which is the idea that this show could be used as a template for other people to do something else with, in other places, by other artists in other locations. And it doesn't have to be this form. Sarah, after I spoke with her, she said, yeah, I understand that. So she's a teacher, so what she did, she teaches a college out there in Taos, and she said, all right, she got her students together, they all painted a painting, they priced it at $50, and they had a sale. And they all agreed on one cause, they were gonna give all the money to that cause. That's the kind of thing that I would like to see. And I've been in contact with other people who, they're offering up work at an Etsy shop, and they're giving a percentage away to it, so they're doing printing posters. Those are the kinds of things that are gonna progress, and those are the kinds of creative ideas that I think are necessary to help fight this fight. It's gonna be a lot of small donations, and a lot of small actions that are going to overwhelm the system, and that's the goal. And that brings me to my final point before I open up to questions, and that is, and it's a question. Would I do it again? Would I do another one in the future? And the answer is yes, with conditions. It would have to be different. I would not repeat this again. I would not do this in this space. I would have to say bigger space, a different space, something that changes things a little bit. There's no way to fail faster than to repeat yourself without change. The second thing is, so change and growth, and the last one is refinement. When I was putting this together, I actually knew what the weaknesses of the show were. And the two prime weaknesses of the show are that there's a bit of a lottery-ish thing going on with who gets money and who doesn't. If the work doesn't sell, you don't get any money. And that leads to the second point, is that would make it very difficult for the causes to get behind us. It's like, why should we exert any energy if we don't know we're gonna make something out of this? So we've been brainstorming, and we have an idea how to fix it, or at least have a bit of a fix for that issue. And that pretty much is my presentation. So yes, there is a future. There might be a future to this. And if you have any questions, let me know.